It never announces itself. It doesn't arrive with noise or warning. It slips in quietly, somewhere between childhood and survival, and by the time anyone notices, it's already shaped you. You are young, maybe 6 or 7, watching the emotional climate of your home more carefully than cartoons or games. Something feels unstable. Maybe a parent is unpredictable. Maybe they're overwhelmed, angry, or emotionally unreachable. You don't understand it fully, but you feel it deeply. And without anyone teaching you, a decision forms inside you. If I don't keep things calm, something will break. If I don't behave, someone will suffer. If I don't grow up now, no one else will. This is how childhood quietly steps aside, not physically, psychologically. You become observant. You monitor tone, tension, footsteps, silence. You learn to smile at the right time, withdraw at the right time, and anticipate emotions that aren't yours to carry. You develop emotional intelligence before you develop emotional safety. Psychology has a word for this shift: parentification, a process where a child takes on roles meant for adults, becoming caretaker, mediator, emotional support, or stabilizer within the family system. It is not maturity, it is adaptation. And adaptation changes the brain. When children repeatedly manage emotional environments beyond their developmental capacity, they can develop hypervigilance, a state of constant alertness where the nervous system scans for threat even when none is visible. It's not dramatic, it's subtle, a tension that never fully turns off.
This wiring teaches you that attention equals safety and that relaxation equals risk. So you grow, but you grow differently. You are praised for being responsible, composed, insightful. Adults admire your strength. Peers describe you as wise beyond your years. What they don't see is the cost, the emotional labor, the suppressed needs, the identity built around usefulness rather than authenticity. You learned something dangerous very early. Love must be earned through stability. Approval must be maintained through performance. Your needs become secondary because meeting them feels selfish or unsafe. And gradually, invisibly, you disappear. Not as a person, but as a priority to yourself. Research and lived experience both show that children placed in adult emotional roles often carry long-term effects: anxiety, guilt, low self-worth, difficulty forming boundaries, and challenges in relationships. Many struggle expressing needs because they were conditioned to suppress them. Many feel responsible for others' emotional states long after childhood ends. These patterns don't vanish with age, they evolve. You become hyper-independent, believing relying on others is weakness. You become emotionally available to everyone but yourself. You excel at caretaking, yet feel uncomfortable being cared for. Some people describe feeling disconnected from their own joy or spontaneity, as if life is something they observe rather than inhabit. They function, succeed, contribute, but struggle to fully relax into presence.
And still, part of you wonders why. Why rest feels undeserved. Why calm environments feel unfamiliar. Why affection sometimes triggers discomfort instead of ease. Why productivity feels safer than vulnerability. It traces back to a simple biological truth. Children will sacrifice authenticity to preserve attachment. Belonging is survival. If adapting keeps connection intact, adaptation becomes identity. That identity can persist for decades. You may find yourself entering relationships where you manage emotions instead of sharing them. You might over-explain, over-function, or over-give, unconsciously recreating familiar dynamics. You might avoid conflict at the expense of honesty, or measure worth through usefulness. These aren't personality flaws, they are learned survival strategies, and strategies can be unlearned. Healing rarely begins with correction. It begins with recognition. Recognizing that what happened shaped you. Recognizing that strength built under pressure is still strength, but it deserves compassion, not idolization. Because glorifying resilience sometimes hides unresolved pain. One of the most transformative shifts happens when you ask a simple question. What did I need back then but I never received? Not analytically, emotionally. The answers may be disarming. Safety, reassurance, playfulness, permission to fail, validation without expectation, space to exist without responsibility. Offering those experiences to yourself, gradually, patiently, is not regression, it is repair.
It teaches your nervous system a new language. That stillness isn't danger. That rest isn't laziness. That receiving support isn't weakness. That emotional expression doesn't threaten belonging. This process is often described as inner child work, but beneath the terminology lies something profoundly human, reintroducing compassion to parts of yourself formed under stress. It requires grieving experiences missed, roles assumed too early, and versions of yourself that never had room to develop naturally. Grief can feel destabilizing, but it signals integration, not collapse. When frozen emotions thaw, healing becomes possible. You may notice subtle changes first. Boundaries that once felt impossible become tolerable. Saying no triggers less guilt. Joy becomes less suspicious. Relationships shift toward mutuality instead of responsibility. You begin responding rather than reacting. And eventually, something powerful emerges: self-permission. Permission to rest without justification. Permission to seek care without shame. Permission to exist without earning space through usefulness. Growing up too fast wasn't your failure, it was your intelligence adapting to circumstance. But adulthood offers something childhood didn't: choice. Choice to soften, choice to relearn, choice to reconnect with parts of yourself that were placed on hold. That younger version of you never vanished. They waited, beneath responsibilities, beneath achievements, beneath identities formed for survival. And when you acknowledge them, not as broken, but as protective and resilient, integration begins. You stop asking why you became this way. You start asking how you can support who you've become. Because healing isn't transformation into someone new. It's reconciliation with someone who was always there. You may not have received the childhood you needed. That reality deserves acknowledgement, not minimization. But you still possess something equally powerful: time, awareness, agency. And now, perhaps for the first time, growth isn't driven by survival. It's guided by understanding. Not rushed, not forced, not performed. Chosen. And that choice, that conscious, compassionate rebuilding, is where true adulthood begins.